It was one of those sticky gray mornings in Seattle when the sky couldn't decide whether to cry or just mope. Not quite raining, not quite dry. That half-hearted drizzle clung to my skin, making everything feel damp and tired. I sat in my car outside the bistro for maybe 10 minutes before finally going in. I wasn't sure why I was even there. The meeting in Boston had been canceled less than 24 hours ago, some issue with the client's internal review board. No real explanation, just a vague email and an apologetic call from my boss. I remember staring at the message on my phone, unmoving for a while. I should have gone home. I should have texted Emma, told her I'd be around for the weekend after all, maybe even offered to make pancakes or something, play the good husband card. But I didn't. I didn't tell her I was staying. I didn't want to. Something about how she'd been lately made that idea feel wrong. Forced. She had changed. Not all at once, but in small, unmistakable ways. She started locking her phone, not the casual swipe-away lock but a full-on biometric password setup. She used to leave it face up on the couch, forgotten like she had nothing to hide. Now it was always with her, always face down, like it might spill secrets if left unattended. She laughed more, but not with me. Not in that real, gut-deep way she used to. Her laugh had become performative, loud, social media loud, the kind of laugh you give someone you're trying to impress. And then there was Pilates. Out of nowhere, 5 days a week, sometimes 6. Early mornings, even on weekends. And she hated mornings. Of course, there was Davin. The name crept into conversations like an ad you couldn't skip. She mentioned him with a breezy casualness, like they were just part of the same work team, like it didn't matter. Davin said the funniest thing today, or you'll never believe what Davin brought to the meeting. I didn't even know what he looked like, but I knew his name. So when the Boston trip fell through, I didn't tell her. I just showed up at the cafe. I parked around the corner, out of view. Not because I was trying to be stealthy, at least that's what I told myself, but because I didn't want her to see me before I saw her. I wanted a moment. One pure, unscripted look at who she was when she wasn't with me. I had started to suspect that version of her was more honest than the one I shared a bed with. Place was packed, warm with bodies and the smell of fresh espresso. A dozen little conversations hummed beneath the clatter of dishes and forks scraping plates. I didn't go through the front. I found the side entrance marked staff only and slipped through it without much thought. I didn't want anyone to call out, wave, or announce me. I wasn't there to participate. I was there to witness. And then I saw her. She stood near the back, in the middle of a semicircle of coworkers, laughing, bright, engaged, wearing a blue blouse I didn't recognize and a skirt that, frankly, I didn't know she owned it. She looked good, really good. Like someone who cared about how she looked that morning, like someone dressing with intention. She touched Davin's arm, just lightly, in that absent-minded way people do when they're connected, when their body follows their interest without thinking. He was younger than me. Cleaner cut. That too perfect grooming some guys wear like a resume. His smile was wide, white, and fake. His shirt looked expensive. Emma's face lit up when he spoke, lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. Maybe longer. I stood near the edge of the table, just out of the spotlight. A few of her coworkers noticed me, a couple glanced over, then went back to their coffee. I wasn't acknowledged. Not really. I was just there. Background. Emma finally looked in my direction, a flash of recognition, a flicker of something unreadable. Confusion, maybe. And then she turned back to him. Back to Davin. And she laughed again. Like I hadn't just walked in. Like I wasn't even part of the story. It hit me in the gut harder than I expected. Not because I'd caught her in some act of cheating, there was no smoking gun, no lipstick on a collar. Just distance. That terrible, cold distance you don't even notice forming until it's a canyon. And by the time you do, you're already on opposite cliffs. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a scene. I just stood there for a few more seconds, watching her animated face, her hand on his arm, the way she tilted toward him when she laughed. Then I turned and walked out. I don't know if she saw me leave. I hope she did. I hope in that last moment something shifted in her gut. A realization, maybe, that I wasn't going to keep waiting for her to notice me. That I had been standing in that relationship alone for a long time, trying to hold up both sides of it like a man lifting a bridge with his bare hands. I stepped into the wet Seattle air, the drizzle still falling, like the sky couldn't quite commit to rain. And I stood there, letting it soak into my shirt. I didn't feel much of anything. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just tired. The kind of tired that comes from watching someone slowly forget how to love you, realizing you've known for a while but were too afraid to admit it. Maybe she noticed I was gone. Maybe she looked around, finally searching for me, her eyes darting between the faces that weren't mine. Maybe in that split second she understood that something had shifted. That she'd finally done the one thing she couldn't take back. She made me feel invisible. And the thing about invisibility? Changes you. The house was quiet when I got back. Too quiet. Like the silence had teeth. I stood in the entryway for a few seconds longer than necessary, keys still in my hand, as if part of me was waiting for something to break the stillness. A greeting. Clatter in the kitchen. Her voice calling out from upstairs. But there was nothing. Just the soft hum of the fridge and the rain tapping against the windows like a lazy metronome. Emma was home. Her car was in the driveway, and I could smell the faint trace of her lavender candle burning in the living room, the one she only lit when she wanted the place to feel cozy. I walked past it without a word, without even taking off my shoes. My socks left prints on the hardwood, and I didn't care. She was in the kitchen, back turned, humming some melody I didn't recognize. She moved with this practiced grace, like a scene she'd played 100 times before. A teacup in her hand, steam curling up around her face. On the counter, her phone lit up with a notification. She didn't check it. Just reached over and turned it face down. She hadn't noticed I was there yet. Or maybe she had, and just didn't want to start the conversation. Maybe pretending everything was normal was easier than facing what had changed. I stood in the hallway and watched her. Like a stranger looking in on someone else's life. I knew every inch of her, the way her shoulders moved when she stirred her tea, how she always tapped the spoon against the rim 3 times. And yet, in that moment, she felt like someone I didn't know. When she finally turned and saw me, her smile was too quick. Too ready. "Hey," she said, like she hadn't just ignored me at breakfast, like her hand hadn't been on another man's arm. "Hey," I answered. My voice sounded foreign to my own ears. Flat. Hello, she didn't ask where I'd been. I waited for it. It never came. Instead, she pushed the mug across the counter. "I made you some chamomile. Figured you'd be tired." I didn't touch it. "You have a good morning?" I asked, keeping my tone light. Detached. She blinked. Hesitated, just long enough. "Yeah." It was fine. Same as always. Same as always. The phrase felt like an insult. That was the usual, then where did I fit? I walked into the living room and sat on the edge of the couch, staring at nothing in particular. She followed me in, sitting on the armrest across from me, tucking her legs up like we were just winding down from an ordinary day. I wondered if she was going to pretend. Until bedtime. Maybe longer. I didn't accuse her. I didn't ask about Davin. Or the breakfast. Or why she looked like she'd forgotten I existed. Instead, the separation established independent financial stability, secure alternative living arrangements. I stopped reading. I couldn't breathe. I sat there staring at the screen as the words blurred together. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, like she'd been executing me in slow motion, one careful step at a time. It wasn't an affair. It wasn't even about Davin. It was worse. She had been leaving me long before I even noticed, and she had done it like a strategist, like a surgeon, methodical, precise. Calculated. My hands were cold, my mouth dry. I looked around the kitchen like I was seeing it for the first time, the lavender candle still burning, the mug of chamomile tea still sitting untouched on the counter, everything placed exactly where it was supposed to be, a scene so ordinary, so controlled, I felt sick. She had already rewritten the story, I was just now catching up. I closed the laptop gently like I was afraid of making a sound, as if noise would somehow make it more real. I sat there for a long time, longer than I should have, until the screen went dark, until the rain outside became just background static, until I could hear her soft breathing from upstairs, steady, peaceful, untouched by the discovery I had just made. She was asleep, curled up in our bed, while I unraveled downstairs, drowning in the realization that I had already been erased. The thing about invisibility is that at first it's terrifying, but then after a while you start to wonder if maybe it's a kind of freedom too. The word hit me like a gut punch. Again. Kate looked away, fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. She sighed, the kind of sigh that carries the weight of knowing something terrible but not wanting to be the one to say it. I was hoping it would be different this time, she murmured. What do you mean, this time? I asked, my voice tighter than I intended. She hesitated, but only for a moment. Then, with a quiet kind of sadness, she told me. Emma had done this before. Not in the exact same way, not with a 6-page strategy document or a man named Davin, but the pattern, the method, the slow, calculated fade out. In college, in her first serious job, even with friendships. She never ended things directly. She just phased people out. Like a company restructuring, except the people being cut didn't even know they were being let go until the severance package was already in place. She gets restless, Kate said, stirring her coffee absently. She starts building an exit before she even admits to herself she wants one. She doesn't do confrontation. She just makes sure by the time she's ready to leave, there's nothing left to fight for. I sat back in my chair, staring at the table, at the grain of the wood, at the cracks in the surface that had been there long before I sat down. I wondered how long the cracks in my marriage had been there, too, how many I had ignored. Did you know? I asked finally. Kate flinched. Not like this. But you knew something. She looked pained but nodded. I saw the signs. I didn't know she was this methodical about it. I thought maybe she was struggling, maybe she talked to you, maybe. She trailed off, shaking her head. I should have said something. I exhaled slowly. Would it have changed anything? Neither of us had an answer to that. We sat in silence for a long time, the noise of the coffee shop around us, a couple laughing at the counter, the hiss of the espresso machine, the scrape of metal chairs against the floor. The world kept moving like it didn't care that mine had just collapsed. What are you going to do? Kate asked. I didn't know. I still don't. But for the first time in a long time, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever came next, it wouldn't be according to her plan. I repeated the words, even though I already knew what she meant. She had done this before, with her last boyfriend before me. It was clinical. That's the only word I can use. She detached, rewrote the story in her head, and told everyone he was toxic, even though he wasn't. She started laying the groundwork months before she ended it. I didn't respond. I just stared down at my coffee, now cold. I didn't think she'd do it to you, Kate added softly. You were different. You grounded her. Apparently not enough, I said. Kate reached across the table and touched my hand. What are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted. But I'm not going to let her erase me. Not again. I started collecting everything, not just documents. I went back through our shared calendars, synced photo folders, and text backups from our old phone plans. I traced the timeline. When she stopped adding me to events, when her schedule shifted, when her story started to contradict itself. There was a pattern, subtle but consistent. She had been peeling herself away from me, layer by layer, replacing our life with something new. Something curated. Then I found screenshots. The messages between her and Davin. Nothing explicit but inside jokes with private meanings. Him saying, "You're not crazy, Emma. You're just trapped." Her replying, "You always know what to say." And one message. Just one. After April, things will be different. It was January. I sent it all to Kate. Then I sent it to Emma's parents. No commentary, no angry note. Just the facts. I wasn't sure how they'd take it. Her dad was always aloof, and her mom adored her like she could do no wrong. But within hours, my phone started buzzing. First Kate. Then her father. Then a mutual friend, Alex, who apparently Emma had been prepping with little hints for weeks, laying the groundwork, subtly shifting the story. Now they had the other side. Emma didn't say anything at first. For 2 full days, she acted like she didn't know the storm was coming. She went to Pilates. She posted a picture of her smoothie bowl. She kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't been exposed. But then came the texts. First they were soft. Hey, can we talk? I think we need to clear the air. I know you're upset, but this is getting out of hand. I didn't respond. Then came the social media post. It was long. Too long. One of those wordy, vague, owning my truth kind of things. She didn't name me. Didn't mention Davin. But the implication was there. She framed it as a mutual unraveling, a slow emotional drift. A relationship where both parties had made mistakes. She even added a line. Some people heal by walking away. Others hurt by staying silent. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my video library. I had footage from a month ago, a dumb video we made for some app. One of those couple challenges where you answer questions on camera. She didn't know I had saved it. In it, I asked her jokingly, "Do you feel guilty about anything lately?" She laughed. Really laughed. Then looked into the lens and said, "Nope. I'm clean. And if I wasn't, you'd never catch me." I posted it. No caption. No hashtags. Just the video. It went up at 7:42 p.m. By 8:05, her post was gone. By 8:10, her account was deactivated. Emma didn't come home that night. She texted me once. "You crossed a line." I didn't answer. Because I hadn't crossed anything. I had just stopped holding the line for her. And maybe finally that was enough. The mediation office was tucked away in an old brick building downtown, the kind with fake plants in every corner and furniture that squeaked when you sat on it. I got there 10 minutes early. Not because I was eager, but because I didn't want to walk in after her. I didn't want to give her even that small psychological win, seeing me come through the door, watching my face for weakness. She arrived 3 minutes late. Course she did. She wore a blazer. Gray. Fitted. Professional, like she was attending a press conference. Her makeup was careful. Not glamorized, but polished. Understated. She even brought a slim portfolio, as if this was a meeting she had prepared for. And in that moment I realized, Emma didn't see this as a divorce. She saw it as an image management opportunity. We sat on opposite ends of a conference table, a mediator between us. Neutral. Middle-aged. With the practiced calm of someone who had seen 1,000 marriages crumble before lunch. He asked us each to explain in simple terms what we hoped to get out of this process. Emma spoke first. Her voice was clear, even measured. She used words like amicable and mutual and personal evolution. She said things like, "We simply reach different places in our emotional growth. There's no villain here. Just a divergence of values." I watched her mouth move and realized none of it was for me. It was for the record. For the mediator. For whatever story she wanted him to walk away believing. When it was my turn, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call her a liar or accuse her of cheating. I didn't even look at her. I looked straight at the mediator and said, "She didn't grow apart from me. She grew around me. Like ivy on a brick wall. Quiet. Strategic. Rooted in something I never got to see. She planned the ending before I even knew there was a problem." That was all I said. I think it landed harder than if I'd brought in a binder full of receipts. The mediator nodded, jotted something down, then guided us through the logistics, assets, accounts, responsibilities. I signed whatever needed signing. I didn't fight her on the condo. Let her keep it. I didn't want to live in a place that smelled like her perfume and echoed with her silence. When it was over, Emma reached into her bag, pulled out a slim folder, and slid it across the table toward me. "There's something I wanted to give you," she said. I didn't touch it. "What is it?" I asked. She hesitated. "Letters. I wrote them over the last few weeks. Things I couldn't say. Things I needed to explain." The mediator cleared his throat, probably sensing the conversation slipping beyond his comfort zone. I picked up the folder, still sealed, and slipped it into my bag without opening it. We left separately. I didn't watch her walk away. That night, I sat in the living room with the lights off, the glow of a muted TV flickering across the walls. The folder sat on the coffee table in front of me. I stared at it for a long time. Eventually, I opened it. Inside were 3 letters, all handwritten, all in that tight, slanted script of hers. First one started with, "If you're reading this, I guess it means you're finally done." I read them all. They weren't apologies. Not really. They were explanations dressed in soft regret. She talked about feeling unseen, about losing herself in the routine, but only in vague terms. Someone who reminded me what being alive felt like. She called what she did a mistake, a moment of weakness that turned into something bigger than she ever meant it to be. She said she never stopped loving me, but that it had become a different kind of love, quieter one. The words didn't hurt. They didn't land at all, honestly. They felt like echoes. Kind of things you say when you want the person you hurt to think of you as tragic instead of cruel. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. 2 weeks later, she posted again. A new account. A new handle. A new persona. The post was long, another soft focus photo of her walking on a beach, head turned just enough to look candid. Caption was a reflection on endings, talking about finding strength, healing, being misunderstood. And buried halfway down was the line, "Sometimes we outgrow the spaces where we used to feel safe, even if those spaces are people." She didn't name me, but I was the space. I gave her one chance to delete it. I sent one message, one line, "Take it down or I will." She left me on read for an hour. So I uploaded the second video. I hadn't planned to. I told myself I was done. But there was something about watching her try to frame herself as the victim again that hit a nerve I thought had gone numb. So I posted it was a clip from a dinner party we hosted last summer. Everyone was laughing, music in the background, drinks in hand. Camera panned briefly to Emma mid-conversation with her friend Rachel. And you could hear her say, loud and clear, "Honestly, if I ever leave Josh, I'm going to spin it so hard no one knows what really happened. PR girl to the end." The video was less than 10 seconds long. But it was enough. Within a day, people started talking. Her coworkers. Our mutual friends. Even a few of the women from her Pilates studio messaged me, asking what the hell was going on. Emma tried to get ahead of it. She posted a story that simply said, "People will believe what they want. I'm done explaining myself." But it was too late. She worked in PR, in image, in managing narratives. And the one thing she couldn't manage anymore was her own. People she used to control started distancing themselves. Quietly at first, then publicly. I started seeing comments disappear from her old photos. Mentions get scrubbed. A mutual friend removed a whole post from a trip they'd taken last fall, like they didn't want the association anymore. A week after that, she vanished online completely. No more posts. No new accounts. Nothing. I thought I'd feel victorious. I didn't. I just felt finished. A few days later, I got a voicemail. I don't know how many times I played it. Maybe twice. Maybe 10. Her voice was quiet. Calm. Not angry. Confused, almost. I don't know what you think you're doing, Josh. But this isn't you. I know you. This feels like revenge, and I don't understand why. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't want to hurt you. There was a long pause. Then, just before she hung up, she added, I thought you'd always protect me. Even now, that part stayed with me. 'Cause she was right. I had always protected her. Even when she was wrong. Even when she lied. Even when she looked me in the eye and smiled while planning her escape. But not anymore. I didn't call her back. Didn't text. Didn't email. That silence, that absence of protection, was the only thing she hadn't prepared for. And that was the real ending. Let me know when you're ready for the final part. Emma didn't reach out again after that voicemail. Not directly, anyway. But I heard things. People talk, even when they think they're being discreet. A mutual friend, one of the few who hadn't picked a side, sent me a screenshot from a private group chat. Emma had been venting, saying she felt targeted, exposed, misunderstood, that she didn't deserve to have her entire career jeopardized over a personal misstep, that I was ing perception. I stared at that message for a long time. Weakening perception. She really couldn't see it, could she? The way she treated the truth like a pliable thing. Something to bend and stretch until it suited her. I wasn't weakening anything. I was just done hiding the mess she left behind. Her world kept unraveling. Not in dramatic explosions, no public breakdowns, no messy confessions. Just slow breaks. A sponsorship deal she was proud of quietly disappeared from her bio. A podcast she co-hosted with 2 other women? Gone. Her face edited out of the header image like she'd never been there at all. I didn't enjoy watching her fall. I didn't hate her. I didn't even wish her harm. But I wasn't going to cushion her anymore. For so long, I'd been the one holding her contradictions in place, making excuses, smoothing over inconsistencies. Once I stopped, gravity did what it always does. I moved out of the house 2 months later. I didn't want it, and it felt wrong to keep living in that space. Every corner reminded me of her, of us, of how much I gave and how little she noticed. Couch, where she used to rest her head on my lap, pretending to watch movies. Kitchen counter, where she leaned in for quick kisses. The hallway, where I stood the morning after I found the exit strategy file, quietly deciding who I'd become next. Before I left, I wrote her a note. Just one line. You can have the house. But the version of me that lived in it is gone. I found a small apartment in a part of town we never went to. Farce. Clean. Mine. First few weeks were rough. I'd wake up, half expecting to hear her in the kitchen, humming barefoot while making coffee. Sometimes I'd catch myself buying her favorite snacks out of habit, only to realize mid-aisle that I didn't have to do that anymore. But little by little, the space became comfortable. Peaceful. I got used to the silence. And eventually I came to appreciate it. No performance. No second-guessing. Just me. I started reconnecting with people I hadn't seen in years, friends I'd lost in the shuffle of becoming Emma and Josh. Turns out, a lot of them had noticed things I hadn't. Over drinks one night, my friend Rob leaned in and said, "Man, I always thought she talked about you like you were a business partner, not a husband." It stung to hear. But he wasn't wrong. Somewhere along the way, we stopped being a team and started being an arrangement. A resume line. Curated image of success. I started going to therapy. I didn't want to carry all of this into whatever came next. I needed to understand why I didn't see it sooner. Why I let it go so far. Why I tolerated being treated like I was optional. My therapist asked me a question that stuck with me. What were you trying to protect by staying silent for so long? At first, I didn't know. Then I realized. It wasn't her I was protecting. It was the version of my life I thought I was supposed to have. The idea of a stable marriage. Of being the good husband. Of having someone waiting at home. I wasn't protecting her lies. I was protecting my illusion. Emma sent one more message weeks later. Just a text. Short. No punctuation. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. What could I say? She was sorry now because there were consequences. Because her story had lost its audience. Because the spotlight she used to control had turned on her, and it was too bright to manage. That wasn't an apology. That was a reaction. I haven't heard from her since. As far as I know, she's still in the city. Maybe rebranding again. Maybe in a new relationship. Maybe trying to rebuild the version of herself that gets the most likes. That's not my concern anymore. Sometimes when I'm walking to work or sitting in a coffee shop, I'll see a couple laughing together, really laughing, and I wonder, did I ever have that with her? Or did I just think I did? Memory plays tricks like that. You remember the feeling, not the facts. And the feeling I used to have with Emma was love. But love that had to be earned. Love I had to qualify for. That's not what I want anymore. I want someone who chooses me in the quiet moments, not just in the highlight reel. Someone who doesn't need an exit strategy. Who stays when things get hard. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. Just awake. And in a strange way, I'm grateful. Not for the pain. Not for the betrayal. But for the clarity. For the mirror she held up, even if she didn't mean to. She showed me who I'd become. Who I didn't want to be. And now I get to choose what comes next. This was never about revenge. It was about finally telling the truth out loud, without flinching, and walking away with nothing but my name intact.